Schopenhauer, The Pessimist's Guide to Happiness. Yeah, you heard that right. We're going to tackle one of life's biggest questions with advice from maybe the biggest pessimist in history. Sounds like a total contradiction, right? But believe me, that's exactly what makes this so fascinating.
You know, it's the question, the one that's always kind of buzzing around in the back of our minds. We read all the self-help books, we watch the talks, we basically build our entire lives trying to figure it out. But what if we've been looking in completely the wrong places?
So for our guide on this little quest for happiness, we're turning to this guy, Arthur Schopenhauer. Now look, if you wanted advice on how to be truly epically miserable, he would absolutely be your guy. So why on earth are we asking him for advice on happiness? Just stick with me on this one.
All right, let's dive right in. This is what we're calling A Pessimist's Guide to Happiness, and it's all based on Schopenhauer's surprisingly practical essay, The Wisdom of Life. Okay, so first things first, a little background. Schopenhauer was doing his thing back in the early 1800s, and his whole philosophy was just a complete departure from the sunny optimism of his time. For him, life wasn't some beautiful gift. Nope. It was more like a cosmic mistake, just jam-packed with unavoidable suffering. Cheery guy, right? But really, to get his ideas, you've got to understand the man himself. And Schopenhauer was, well, let's just say he was a complicated dude. I mean, look at this. This really captures his inner conflict. One biographer literally called him a walking contradiction. On one side, you have this absolute genius, a guy who loved art and beauty, who is chasing deep truths. His writing, it's just elegant and crystal clear. But then, on the other side, you've got a total misanthrope. We're talking paranoid, suspicious of everyone, and not exactly known for his warm, fuzzy empathy. It's like these two people were just constantly at war inside his head. And, you know, his thinking didn't just pop out of nowhere. He was standing on the shoulders of giants. He grabbed Plato's idea of a perfect, ideal world we can't see. He took Kant's deep dive into the limits of our own minds. And then he pulled in this idea from Buddhism about annihilating the self to escape suffering. He basically threw all of these into a philosophical blender and came out with his own very unique and, very gloomy worldview. Okay, so he sits down to write this essay on how to live a happy life. And you're thinking, great, he's going to give us a step-by-step guide to joy. But this is Schopenhauer we're talking about. So in true Schopenhauer fashion, the very first thing he does is pull the rug right out from under us. He starts by defining his terms. He uses this fancy Greek-derived word, eudaimonology, and he says, okay, this is the art of leading a happy existence, structuring your life to get as much pleasure and success as possible. All right, sounds good so far. This is what we're here for, right? And then, bam, he hits us with this. He asks if a human life can ever actually be a happy existence. And his answer? A hard no. His own philosophy, he says, gives a negative answer. So he's basically saying, hey everyone, I'm going to teach you how to do something that I firmly believe is impossible. What? So here's the kicker. For Schopenhauer, that whole word, eudaimonology, was just a euphemism. It's a polite, nice-sounding word for an impossible goal. He truly believed that this entire quest for happiness that we're all on is based on a massive mistake about what life is actually like. And to really hammer this point home, he quotes Voltaire, saying, we're going to leave this world just as foolish and wicked as we were when we got here. It's pretty bleak. He's basically saying humanity is stuck on a treadmill. We don't really learn, we don't really get better, and life is just hard. So if that's the starting point, where do we go from there? What are we supposed to do? And this, right here, is where his advice gets, well, surprisingly useful. Since this idea of a perfectly happy life is off the table, he gives us a different goal entirely. He completely reframes the problem by breaking our entire life experience down into 3 simple buckets. That's it, just 3. He argued that everything that determines our fate in life, what he called our human lot, can be sorted into these 3 fundamental categories. And here they are. It's a framework he actually borrowed from Aristotle, by the way. He said that everything comes down to these 3 things: what a person is, what a person has, and how a person appears. Let's break each one down. First up, and for Schopenhauer, this is the big one, by far. It's what a person is. This is all the stuff inside you, your personality, your health, your intelligence, your overall vibe. He believed this is the only thing that really matters, because it's the lens through which you see the whole world. Think about it. A cheerful person can find something to smile about even in a tough spot, while a gloomy person could be in paradise and still find something to complain about. Okay, second, we have what a person has. This is all the external stuff, your property, your money, your possessions. And here's the key insight from Schopenhauer. He saw this stuff as kind of fleeting, almost a burden. It doesn't actually change who you are on the inside, so it doesn't really have a lasting impact on how you feel. And finally, we get to the one he thought was the least important of all, how a person appears. This is your reputation, your social status, basically what other people think of you. For Schopenhauer, this was a total illusion. He believed that worrying about other people's opinions was just a guaranteed recipe for anxiety and suffering. You're literally handing over control of your own happiness to other people.
So if the whole game is to focus on what we are and to stop worrying so much about what we have or how we appear, what's the end goal here? Where does this pessimistic path actually take us? And this is the heart of his whole argument. The goal is not to chase positive things. It's not about adding more pleasure, more joy, more excitement. He saw all that stuff as temporary. It just sets you up for disappointment later. The real goal, the actual wisdom of life, is to subtract the negative things. It's about removing pain, getting rid of suffering, avoiding boredom and anxiety. The whole point is to find peace by sidestepping all the bad stuff.
And that leaves us with a really provocative question to chew on, doesn't it? Schopenhauer's idea is radical because it flips our whole script on happiness. So is the secret to a good life about adding more joy, or is it about subtracting suffering? Thinking about that just might change how you see, well, everything.